So, welcome everyone. I know it's a little warm in this room. Don't worry, we're not going to be here all day. We're just going to be here for some introductory training, and then the good news is you get to spread out over the entire building. So my name is Mrs. Jung, and welcome to Lamson Library. I'm sure your teachers have told you a few things about me, including that I bump into things. And so what we're going to do today is the handout working its way through? Slowly, don't worry, Isaiah, you will get it very shortly. So the handout's going to have some very important login information for you. So what I'm doing now, before you even get to that point, you'll have to log on. We'll work with you one-on-one to make sure that you log on, but you have a special guest account and password that you're going to use today while you're in Lamson Library. And that will work on any computer in the library. After we're done in this session, have to move out of this room. But remember the computers that we walked by? Those computers your guest account will work on. And type in that guest password and then open your browser. And then I want you, and I written it down, but if you have paper and pencil, you want to write, I see some of you already have your pencils, just write library.plymouth.edu or circle right here is the main library website, library.plymouth.edu. So if at any time you need to get back to our library website, just type that in. Okay? A couple of things about the library. You pretty much have the run of the place to yourself today because classes have not started. That's good news, but as Mr. Breeler indicated, we still sort of need to use our inside voices, so you're going to want to kind of not shout or holler at one another. And your hard work today that you do while you're in the library will make your process much easier down the road. And this is not the last you're going to see of me. I'll be back with you working on this project for a while. So the first thing I want to do is show you how to use the library catalog to find, for instance, to see if we have any books on your topic. And then I'm going to show you a couple of other resources that you might find helpful. Your handout goes through all of this, but I'm just going to take you through the steps of how it works. Any questions for me before we get started? Any teachers, anything that I've forgotten to say that I should have said? No? Great! You all look so... You should be energetic after your snow day. There's a smile. You should be energetic after your snow day yesterday.
But we just walked.
Yeah.
I wanted to snow day again.
You had an invigorating walk, and now you're ready to settle down and work in the library. Okay, so let's get started. So when you open up library.plymouth.edu, this is what you're going to see. This page. And our library is set up to search for everything. And sometimes that works really well. It's sort of like when you're searching on Google and you find a lot of things and a lot of the stuff you don't want. Does that happen to any of you? So today we're going to search on our catalog. I'm going to recommend that you search just for books to start. Just books. So we're going to notice it says find books. So, does anyone have they picked up a plant yet, or are they still thinking about that?
They all have their plants too, and they're very
All right, so who has a plant they want to share with me? Oh my gosh, I don't know, where do I start? Yes?
Caribbean red habaneros.
What?
Caribbean red habaneros.
Habanero, so it's a pepper.
Yes.
It's a type of pepper. Okay.
The hottest
kind of pepper.
Hottest non-hybrid peppers.
Okay. All right. So we're going to start generally with peppers. But that's great. I think that's phenomenal. Peppers. So we're going to start with just the general, and that's really a good example because sometimes if we start too specifically, like green pepper or red pepper, or in the case of your jalapeno pepper, those habanero. That's right, which is different than jalapeno, right?
Yes.
Okay. I got a cooking lesson today. So it's better to start in a more general sense. So just like there are a lot of different peas out there and a lot of different kinds of tomatoes out there, you want to start with a broad search, like peppers or tomatoes. So I'm going to see if we have any books on peppers. I don't know if we do or not, but this is how you would do it. So you would type in your term, find books, and you would just press the search button.
Or press enter.
Or press enter. That's right. So, interestingly enough, when I did just a keyword search and was looking for peppers anywhere in the record, what comes up? This great book called, it's a book that's on order too. 8 Flavors, The Untold Story of American Cuisine. So I'm saying, I forgot to ask your name. The one. What is your name, hon?
Christian.
Christian. So Christian's doing this thing on peppers. It's probably thinking, wow, what a great book. I'm starting to say this one is on order, but let's say we wanted to see more about a book. So we bring up the list. It tells us that we have in the library 316 print books, 133 ebooks. We'll talk about those in a minute. And those are the ones you really only need to be concerned about. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to, if I want to know more about an item, in any of the databases that we use, you want to make sure you click on the title of the article or the title of the book, because that will bring up more information. So what you're seeing here is sort of how it's going to work on any database that you use. So you open up the book, open up the record, and it's going to tell you what the book is about. We don't have as much on this, but it does tell us a summary of the book. There may be something on the pepper in there. And it looks like it may be a cookbook. And then it will give you a call number. Let's choose another one. So let's say I've chosen one, and I want to look at another one. So I'm going to, now this may not be the best one, because, let's try. Let's say I don't like the search, so I'm going to say peppers and garden. So this time I'm going to see if I get a better book. All right, so this one. I'm going to find one first that is in print. So if you want to see books that are in print, let's see, what is it doing? Here we are. First I'm going to limit to books. And then I'm going to say, give me all the print books. Now we have a lot of ebooks, and I'm going to talk about those in a minute, because you can use those while you're here. So here's an example of a book that's in print. You click here and bring up the title. There's your description, which tells you what the book is about, including the table of contents. And then if I keep scrolling down, I will find this information, which is my call number. Now, one of the things I want to explain to you guys is that our library uses a system a little different than yours. We use a system called the Library of Congress. So all our books are on the shelves by letters instead of numbers. So, and they're mapped at the reference desk. That I'll be available wherever you are. You can just bring them and pick them up when you're working. So all the books A through L are downstairs. The books M through Z are upstairs. So that's something really important that you'll want to remember. So the S's, that's an SV, that will be upstairs, 2 floors up. So we're on the lower level. There's 1 floor above us, and then there's 1 level above us on the 3rd floor. That's the quiet zone. So that's where you want to be really quiet in case someone is studying. So if you find a book that you may be interested in, even if it doesn't say growing tomatoes or growing peppers or even growing habanero peppers, what you want to make sure that you do is go ahead and write the call number down, and when you get the book, flip to the back where the index is so that you can see if your topic is addressed in the back of the index. So it's an alphabetical. You use an index, you can see what pages in the index that they talk about peppers or tomatoes or a particular plant that you're growing. Your sheets, can I borrow that from you just a minute? Starting on page 2 of your handout, you can use bottom of page 1. Sorry, gang. On the bottom of page 1, I've given you some search terms that you may want to start with. I started with peppers, but there are other terms that you could use, like gardening, container gardening, because you're going to be doing some of your plants in containers, plants, or the specific name of your plant with the word gardening, like carrots and gardening. So those are some terms that you can use. Thank you very much. So if you're not sure where to get started, you're going to start with those search terms. And then after you've picked a book, on the left-hand side of the screen will be all the other, I've got my mouse here, will be all the other books that you have, that are in that long list of books. So you can go and say, okay, I'm going to take a look at another book. I already saw that one. The display is a little interesting. Oh wow, here's another one. The Pepper Garden, a novel. This is a good chance for me to show you what happens sometimes when you search for a keyword. Sometimes you get things that you don't want, and that's okay. This happens to be The Pepper Garden, a novel. Probably not what any of you are going to be looking for, but this is a very natural thing that happens when you're doing a search and you're doing a keyword search where the word pepper can appear anywhere in the record. And that's okay. You're going to find those. So I'm going to go back to we also have a system called Advanced Search. So if you like searching that, you can always go in here and I can do my search again called carrots and gardening. Or here's another trick. I can use this little to truncate it. So write down on your little notebooks the star, because that's your truncation symbol. And these are tips that might help you down the road if you want to use those. Carrots and gardening, this time I'm going to search for those two words together. So I'm saying to the system, give me any books that have the word carrots or garden or gardening in the title. And what do we get? Early Sprouts Cookbook, the first thing that comes up. Now these cookbooks may have some very helpful, even though they're cookbooks, many of our cookbooks have background information on the actual vegetable that you're growing. And remember, part of your assignment is to do a study of the history of your plant. Is that true, Mrs. Weatherby?
Yeah.
So they may provide very important background information on your particular plant. So this one's on the Early Sprouts Cookbook. And so if we brought that one up, that would tell us again. Now this one happens to be an ebook, which is what I want to show you. While you're here today, notice one of the questions I often get, or one of the things that students say to me is, I found this great book, but there's no phone number. What can I do? You can still read the book while you're here in Lamson today. You can view an ebook, and then come down here, click on full text, and then the book will appear right here for you to read, and you can kind of page through. Now this looks very different. I haven't seen this one. So there's our cookbook, and sometimes I have to download it to look at it. No, it's not letting me download it either. EPUB full text. Sometimes it looks, when I'm on this computer, it looks a little different, and I apologize for that. But basically, you'll be able to go through the pages and read it that way. How many of you like ebooks? You don't know? Love them or hate them. Some people really like ebooks, and some people don't. This is a book that you can read on the computer. And obviously, you're not going to want to read all the book, but there may be a section of the book that you want to look at. So while you're here in the library today, practice using ebooks. This is your chance to kind of sample everything that a library has to offer to you. So don't be afraid to try something. You may not like it, just like sprouts, which I kind of like and don't like. I certainly don't like habanero peppers. I think I better stay away from those. It's okay. You're going to find some things that don't work. You're going to find some things that you like and you don't like. And that's really why you're here today, to kind of experiment with different library resources. So experiment with using our catalog. Some books you can use here in the library. If you find a book and there's some chapters of a book that you want to scan, we have a scanner, and you can email them to yourself. How many of you have a home address? Maybe you have a home email address that you use, like a Google address? Okay, so if you do scan something and you want to send it to yourself, you want to send it into a Google that's not at school, you want to use the account that's not at your school, because those tend to get kicked back. and your school will see as spam and won't send it through. So I hate to see that happen. So use your home address if you do that. All right, so the other parts that of our website that you're going to experiment with today, so that's a little bit of our catalog. And by the way, you can experiment in any order you want. You don't have to start with the library catalog. You may want to start with something different. So for instance, I'm going to show you, oh, I got lost. Where am I? At any point in the search process, I can type library.plymouth.edu and get back to that screen. So the other thing I want to call your attention to today, so here's our books. Remember, we're going to search for books. Not everything. Make sure you search books first, and then type your term in. Now we're going to move to library databases. And this is a long list of sources that when you go to high school and college, when you go to high school, in fact, next year at Plymouth Regional High School, I hope you have a chance to see that. I'm working on giving you the chance to see Plymouth Regional High School. You will have access to a lot of databases. And these are all kinds of databases. Some of them are encyclopedias. Some of them do reports. Some of them do magazine articles. Who here has written? Have you read a magazine article? I'm sure you have. So, we are going to focus today on it. We're going to use a couple of different databases called Academic Search Premier, and then we're going to go down to the G's, and we're going to search the Gale Virtual Reference Library. That's also on your handout. And let's start here. So, Academic Search Premier. This box will come up. And at this point, this is where I've given you some search terms that you can type in. I'm going to start with peppers and gardening. I'll just say, yeah, garden. We use my truncation symbol. So this is how the database works. All right. And then it gives me a lot of records. Look at this. I have 830 records. I don't want to go through 830 records. So one of the first things I might do is just limit to magazines. So on the left-hand side of the screen is how you limit to magazines. Now don't worry if you're confused along the way. Once we go, I'm just giving you a general lay of how things work. Once we spread out, you start working one-on-one, I'll be here to go through this with you again. So don't fret if you're not sure. So there's our results. I've limited to magazines. And then here's my list. It's going to give me, now this time I still have 368, which is a lot. Because remember, this is a big database that goes back to the 1950s. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start scanning my results. It's going to give me 30 per screen. And then I have to decide, oh, gee, do I want to read it? How do I know if it's something that I want? Well, you have a couple of options. You can click on the title. And that's the way I'm going to recommend that you do. Click on the title. And then scroll down and you'll see the whole record, including what's called an abstract. What do you think the abstract is? Have you talked about an abstract? What's an abstract? Right, it's a summary of what the article is about. And you can figure out pretty quickly whether or not it's something you want to look at further. And then if you see here that it's an HTML or PDF full text, you can select that. I recommend PDF so you can see the images in case there are any. And then you can read the article. Especially with this one, Mother Earth News has a lot of pictures. So there's the full content of the record. So you can actually go down, and if you want, your guest accounts today, I don't have a printer attached but to this computer, but your guest accounts allow you printing today, which is really super good news. So you can go home with articles in your notebooks, ready to use for your project on your plant. I'm going to cancel this because I can't. Well, I guess I could. So this is where I can actually print my article. You won't be able to print it in color, but you will be able to print your article. And just a hint, if you do select the PDF, make sure that you use the print command. I'm going to point out here. Use the print command that's within the PDF. That's how you'll print your article. Does that make sense? Okay. This is probably, to tell you the truth, as much as I love books, I think you're going to find a lot of great things in this database for your project. So you may want to start with Academic Search Premier. And if you want to go back, you can look at your result list. go back here again. And so just because you have one doesn't mean there aren't others. It's on your result list or your back key, and then you can continue looking along the line and say which one's best varieties for 2006. Remember, these go back quite a ways. And the other reason why I asked you to limit by magazines, you may wonder, why did she have me limit by magazine? Well, just because there are some, like my brother, who has his own landscape business and horticulture business. He studies plants in depth. And he writes things like this: performance of different varieties and hybrids of black pepper as mixed crop in Aragonite garden of Assam, India. Okay. It's probably not what you're, I see a smile. It's probably not what you're actually going to want to, that's probably a little more than what you want. You're not writing a scientific paper on pepper. So that's why I've asked you, when you're searching Academic Search Premier, to limit to magazine.